And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Hail Mary Sports Bar right here on BearcatJournal.com. Go visit our good friends at Hail Mary's. They will get you taken care of. They're in Cheviot, right on Harrison Avenue. They're in the Dora District, so you can go from bar to bar with your drinks. But why would you need to do that when you can just hang out at Hail Mary's? 27 TVs, 9-screen video wall. There's not a bad seat in the house. They have every sports package that DirecTV offers. They can stream all the games, and Cincinnati sports will always be on the video wall. Brand new walk-in cooler, brand new draft lines, and not only do they pour the coldest beer around, but they do so in 32.8-degree frosted glasses. All right, Aaron, let's get to it. We had a show Sunday night with Keegan that addressed the additions of Kirk Carissa and Sincere Harris, but been busy the other way since then. 6 Bearcats in the transfer portal. If you have been paying attention to Bearcat Journal, a large majority of that, not a surprise to you. There was one that I was a little bit off on because the situation changed, but that's life of covering the transfer portal is every day situations change, and that's what makes it rather challenging to report on. But end of the day, it is what it is. The Bearcats looking like a new team. You're not going to get your complete roster overhaul, Aaron, but you're getting a very large one, which I told you was going to be the case all along.
I am not upset. You lose 16 games, and things need to change. You brought back, we tried the continuity thing. You brought back a large majority of the roster. It did not work out. And I thought a change was needed. And I am of the belief that regardless of what happens with whatever roster is constructed by Wes and company, look, this is his, in my opinion, this is his last shot. And we'll see if that remains to be the case or not. But you have as many tools as you're going to get at your disposal for this overhaul. There is really no excuse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Given the, I don't know, you have a ton of wiggle room with this roster right now. You've brought in 2 guards, so your backcourt should be largely full. Especially, we'll see what happens with Connor Hickman if he's granted the waiver, if he's sticking around, who knows. But you've got 4, maybe 5 guards. And so now it's time to start figuring out bigs.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the one interesting one for me is Sincere Harris, because I think you can play him at the 3. I don't think he is that much different physically than John Newman, and he is a perimeter defender, 1, 2, 3. So I think you can at least, there is some positional versatility with him where you can move him to the 3 spot when necessary. And right now, who do they have at the 3 spot? Sean Abayev.
Yep.
And you're not going to play him 40 minutes. You're not going to play him 30 minutes. Probably 25, 20, 22, something like that would be like the target range as you get him adjusted. So you either need to go get somebody or you use Sincere Harris as a guy that can give you 15 whatever minutes in that role. Right. And that opens things up in the backcourt a little bit. It also gives you the flexibility if you can go out and find a wing that you think fits, that you're good to go there. I do think it's interesting, like just talking about the money, where everything is at. Like it's amazing when you start doing where the numbers are at around the sport. When you start doing the math in your head, how fast you get to 6 million.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it gets there real fast.
If the going rate, we were kind of talking about this off air before we came on to this show here. I mean, if you're talking about a dude costs somewhere in the realm of, $2 million.
1.5 to 2, yeah.
And if you get 2 of those guys, now you're looking at somewhere between 3 and 4 million. And if you're on a budget of 6, you have to fill the roster with what's left. That's tough.
Yeah. There's not going to be a whole lot of like going and finding guys on a discount for $700,000 anymore.
You just have to hope that you find the diamonds in the rough, essentially, and can't miss.
That's where you hope. Adding a GM, adding a guy like Corey Evans, who will join us tomorrow night, Wednesday night, on the BCJ podcast at 8 p.m. So that'll be the first chance for UC fans to get to hear from Corey. So that part's interesting, but today we'll focus a little bit more on the departures. Obviously, the two main guys being Dan Skillings and Dylan Mitchell. I think everybody agrees with Dan. A change of scenery was probably in the best interest of both parties.
I could not agree more. I don't know that I can recall a bigger disappointment on this team to go from Big 12, all Big 12 honorable mention to starter benched the following season. And even then we were wondering, is he playing too much? Oftentimes.
14 minutes. They played him too much.
You just wonder if it was a mental thing, if it was not putting enough time in or effort into the little things. I don't know. I'm made of questions.
Injury is a part of it, even though I was told that was not impacting him. It still happened, and he still missed what,
Sure.
8-9 games dealing with it.
I'm made of questions for what went wrong, things that we'll never know, but it'll probably be on my list of things that I ask whenever I get to the pearly gates, just to satiate my curiosities for.
That's what you're worried about when you get to the pearly gates is what happened to Dan Skilling.
There's a long ass list of being a Cincinnati sports fan that I'm going to have questions about. The entire 90s for the Bengals.
You're going to pull out a list, and they're going to be like, they're going to pull the chute. You're going straight to hell.
The bad egg.
This guy came here to ask us about Cincinnati sports failures. Down
Veronica Sultanfuss from or
Veruca Salt.
There it is. I think I was combining movie names for that anyway.
Like 5 different things all combined into one. Dylan Mitchell, that's a tough one because Dylan was clearly a guy that played normally with great energy. Yeah. He was a guy that could do a lot of things. I think one of the frustrations is he was one of those jack of all trades, master of none. Like there wasn't any one thing that he was elite at. Catching lobs, I guess. Yes. Dunking the basketball, he was elite at that. But in terms of his production, it was sporadic. And in this league, I know I've taken a lot of heat for saying I do not think Dylan was an ideal 4 in the Big 12. I still don't think that, especially if the way that the 4s played in the Big 12 this year, if that's at like 6'8", 235 is a thing, that makes it really difficult for Dylan Mitchell to be super productive because it takes away some of his rebounding advantage and it takes away some of his defensive advantage, trying to either guard or be guarded by somebody that has that much additional strength to help neutralize some of his athleticism. I do still think there's a window if Dylan doesn't, get what he likes, or if he doesn't find a situation that he thinks is an ideal fit, there's a window open for him to come back. Not only does he have a good relationship with Wes, but he has a good relationship with Corey Evans from when he was a recruit and Corey was working at Rivals. So there at least will be open communication there. If I had to guess, he's gone. And I don't want to dog on Dylan because I think that was the one guy that no matter what, you didn't really have to question if it meant something to him, because it generally felt like it did. But I would just say this, Aaron. In a lot of those games that left us scratching our head as to where did that loss come from? What the hell happened? Dylan Mitchell was not a giant contributor in many of those games. And that's, that's a bit concerning. If you look at the Villanova game, he had 9 and 4. He guarded Eric Dixon. Eric Dixon scored 31. The Utah game, 7 points, 6 rebounds in the game at Utah. The West Virginia game at home when they lost 63-50. 6 points, he had 10 rebounds, 8 of them defensive. Now, that was a game where everybody was flat, so he at least, gave effort on the glass. But then you had a 3-game stretch. 2 of them were wins, but BYU and Utah, he had 10 combined points in the 2 home games. Then they went to Iowa State, he had 4. And then the biggest thing for me, Aaron, Kansas State and Oklahoma State, the 2 biggest games of the season in terms of Cincinnati trying to salvage the hole that they had dug for themselves.
Wreckage.
Kansas State, he had 2 points. Oklahoma State, he had 4. And if he's gonna be somebody that you're gonna bring back and give a significant amount of money to, I did not see enough for me to say he is a top of the roster guy. What I would be comfortable saying is if you're counting on him to be your 4th or 5th guy, yes. But Cincinnati's not they don't have that kind of money to have a guy like Dylan Mitchell be their 4th or 5th guy.
Right.
So I hate that he's leaving because I do think there is a place for him. I just don't think it was the right fit here.
I will miss his infectious energy. I think that he I don't know. He was one of my favorite players to watch this season, if not my very favorite player to watch this season. He and Day were the 2 pieces that I feel like you can build a team around. That said, it's tough because when you have a guy like that who can't create shots in a position that you need to be able to do more than just score in the paint, you want that out of your 5, not out of your 4. And that's difficult when you have 2 guys doing kind of the same thing. It makes the offense tough. It makes I don't know. It makes creating shots for others tough. So I don't know. You almost wish he was either bigger or found a shot. I mean, truthfully, just it seemed like, I don't know, when he was on, this team was on. Like,
yeah,
those were the good. Well, you almost wonder how much his free throw shooting hurt this team as well, because he was a guy who could find himself at the line. But
he didn't get there very much.
Well, nobody really got there much on this team.
He took 200 free throws on the year in 30 games.
Made 40?
30 whatever games. Yeah. No, made 97. Or no, I think that's his career total. Sorry.
200?
Yeah, that's his career total.
Say that's
97 for 200 in his career from the free throw line. Josh Reed, a little bit of a surprise in that I thought that they would be pretty close in what the player asked and what the program was looking for, enough to where that they would be able to find a middle ground. Apparently that was not the case. Josh is looking to be in a position where he's getting starter minutes and is being paid Power 5 starter money. And Cincinnati kind of had him as a heavy rotation guy, but not starter level guy. And if that's the case, I get where the 2 sides decided it was best to go their separate ways, which sucks because I love a program guy like Josh. Was a chance to have somebody be in the program for 4 years, which isn't going to be something that happens really much, if ever, anymore. But if that's what he's looking for and Cincinnati's not comfortable going to that level, then the right move was made by both sides.
When Cincinnati announced that, well, they haven't announced it, but when we found out that Sincere Harris was going to be a Bearcat, I was concerned with rotations with Sincere and Josh both in them, because I was concerned having two guys being not guys that you consider being able to create their own shot. And
Yeah.
I think that this alleviates that. I am of the belief that Josh could have contributed to this team going forward. However, I don't see him as a Big 12 starter. I think that puts you in a bad spot, truthfully, with him as a Big 12 starter. And so,
Yeah.
happy trails.
Yep. I wish Josh well. He's a good kid. Was about the right things. He either graduated or he was really close to graduating. So he was a great student, great kid. I enjoyed having him around. But such
You
is
might
life.
call him
Rayvon Griffith,
rock. You might call him rock solid.
rock solid. Yeah. Rayvon Griffith, local kid, made the most of his opportunities when he got them. But I also just don't think if you're serious about saving Wes's job and contending in the Big 12 next year, that you do so with Rayvon Griffith penciled into the top 7 or 8 of your rotation. He's going into year 3. Completely understandable that he is looking for a bigger role.
Right.
It just wasn't going to be here at this point in time.
Yeah, Ray still looked like he needed some polishing. He needs to be developed a little bit more. I think that when you see the list of teams that are reaching out to Ray and his camp, the only power conference team that I believe I saw was Oklahoma State. And
then a lot of American A10. Like, I think that's his level. I think that's his athleticism is going to be a really good fit for him. His strength. He's going to be able to rebound. He's going to be able to get out and run the floor a little bit easier. I think that's the right. I mean, the scuttlebutt for a while has been Dayton. We'll see if that comes to fruition now that others are involved. But I think that's a good level for him.
Yeah. Again, when you're talking about Wes trying to figure out if he's going to be able to stay here and trying to figure out how to turn the ship around, you can't really have projects on your roster. Not
you can, but they better progress at the level that they want to progress, or they're going to be moving on. Like, you've got 15 spots now, Aaron. You're never playing more than 9 or 10 guys. There's plenty of room for projects, but if they don't hit after a year or two, you have to expect that they're going to want to go somewhere else.
I've seen a lot of talk, though, about a lot of teams not filling all 15 spots and trying to share the revenue a little bit more. So I don't know. We'll see.
You're also going to see a lot of teams that then when injuries hit, they're like, oh shit, we only have 9 guys on our roster and 2 of them are hurt. What do we do now? Well, you probably should have figured out a way to have some guys at the back end of your roster so that you weren't in this shit show of a situation.
I don't disagree.
Tyler Betsy.
It's a tough one.
I just wish there was a little more to his game that you could have invested in.
He was very much a one-tool player.
Yeah.
And it was just the catch and shoot. You have to be able to do more than that at this level. You can't just be, again, you can't have a roster full of projects. You have to develop.
As much as he's really good at one thing, but
you didn't see
to be a 3 and D guy, you have to be able to play the D.
You didn't see really anybody find anything else throughout the season on this roster from the beginning of the season to the end of the season.
Yeah, I would disagree there in some cases, but in other instances, yes, you're right. and Tyler was one-dimensional, and he only shot 32% from three. If he would, guess what? Remember, like, beginning of the year, middle of the year, when he was at like 50% from three going into conference play? If he would have kept that up and shot 43% from three, things probably would have figured out a way to work themselves out. But at 30%, 32% from three, you start doing the math and you start figuring out what the budget for next year looks like.
And we had a couple opportunities too. He had a couple opportunities too to make big shots and big moments, and the moment was too big for him. Yeah. And if we're going back and remembering these big moments as Tyler Betsy moments, and we're like, "Oh shit, you remember that time that Tyler Betsy hit the shot?"
Right.
Now you've created a conversation. You're starting to create a legacy, and instead, I don't.
Forget legacy, like legacy value. Fine. You're creating value.
I'm just trying to go back in my head and remember a Tyler Betsy moment, and I don't really have any Tyler Betsy moments.
Well, there were, like I said, there were some earlier in the year where he was hitting at a 50% clip, so he wasn't taking many, but he was hitting them, and it was helping the team. And then it felt like the back half of the season, he just went ice cold and couldn't connect. And it's a value system now, you know. And speaking of no value, Arrington Page also went into the transfer portal.
What might have been?
That's the nightcap. We will see you tomorrow night on the BCJ podcast. Corey Evans, new GM of UC Basketball, will join us live at 8 o'clock Wednesday night. See you next time. This show's brought to you by Hail Mary Sports Bar, live from the Cincy Light Studios, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!